All right, so let's go on to intervals. And it is in the book, but just stick with me. You can read the book. The book has some information. You might want to read that. Usually students tell me it's easier to just use what I tell you. And I also have a handout that probably explains it a little better. Okay, so the first thing, and the definition of an interval, is the distance between two nodes. So we're measuring the distance between two nodes. So we always have two nodes, right? That's an interval. So any two nodes can be an interval. And we always count the first node. So the distance between these two nodes, well, let's make this bass clef. The distance between these two notes, this is A to B, it's a second. We call that a second. So in an interval, we'll always have a number, and we'll always have a quality. Okay, but let's just worry about the number for a minute. And basically it goes by letter name, but we can also count them on the staff. So A to A, we actually call that a unison, or we use the number 1. So when we see number 1, if it's the same note, we call that a unison. That's number 1. So the next one, A to B, is a second. We use 2. A to C would be a third, would be 3. And what's interesting, what you'll notice is that the intervals, the numbers, are pretty easy to recognize because if they're right next to each other, it's going to be 2. If it's the same note, it's going to be 1. If they're right next to each other, it's going to be 2. A third, for example, this is A to C, right? Well, here's another way a third could be B to D. That's a third too. Does everybody see what I'm saying? You just count 1, 2, 3, B to D. It's a third. So a third always looks like this. It's like a space to the next space, or a line to the next line. So it's going to be line, line, or space, space. Right? That's what a third looks like. Okay, then the next one, A to D. A fourth. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, we always start with the first letter. 1, 2, 3, 4. This could be a fourth too. D to G. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it doesn't have to start on A. It can start on any letter, and then we would just go 4 letters up. So a fourth, for example, from C. If I said, give me a fourth above C, it would be F. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's F. Right? A fifth would be A to E. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or it could be D to A. That's a fifth. And you can see a fifth, like a third, is space to space. A fifth would be a space, skip the space, and then go to the next space. Or start on the line, skip a line, go to the next line. So when you practice these, after a while, you get pretty good at just looking at it and say, oh, it's a third, it's a fifth, it's whatever it is. You just it becomes fairly automatic because it's easy to see. Now this doesn't even matter if it's treble or bass clef at this point. The number is always going to be the same, isn't it? Because this would be A to B in bass clef, that's a second. This would be F to G in treble clef, that's a second. So on the staff, you can really tell. You don't even have to think about the letters so much. You know, that's a second, third, fourth, fifth, fifth. It's easy to see. Everybody with me so far? So we just count from the bottom note to the top note, the letters, and that's the number. So we're always going to have a number. So far we talked about fifths. We did not talk about sixth. Here's a sixth. B to G. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or I could look at this. I could say 1, 2, 3.